corruption is a cost on everyone, other than those who gain the benefits of corruption and pay no consequences for the profit they make out of corruption. So if there is a concerted determination to do everything necessary to prevent corruption, to do everything necessary to sanction corruption, to do everything necessary to create a climate of intolerance for corruption. So 3 things. There's the create an environment of intolerance for corruption. So everyone in the society sort of says, we want to reorientate ourselves toward a society that's value-based, that's value-driven. Our foundation on the basis of which we do things in this society, whether it be in government, in business, or in the wider society, has to be a foundation of values, a foundation of values of hard work, integrity, issues of reliability, trust, matters of honesty, and necessary reward for bad behavior, necessary reward for good behavior and punishment for bad behavior. Once they set those kinds of moral foundation, value anchors on the basis of which all society would operate, then you would see that the climate of corruption would begin to change toward a society where people actually frown against corruption, because you need the moral fibers of society to say that corruption is not acceptable. In many societies today, in the wider society, it's not because it's their culture, but because in a way there has become a tolerance for corruption.
Like a norm. It's like a norm.
Then it gets normalized. It becomes so normalized that people sort of say, that's just the way it is. And then people begin to think it's their culture. Corruption is not the culture of Africa. Africans always punished bad behavior. Pre-colonial Africa sanctioned bad behavior like corruption to the extent that it excommunicated people who were found guilty doing those kinds of things. So that reorientation is the anchor. And then the second thing is preventing the opportunity for corruption. If you have opportunity for corruption prevalent in society, there will be higher probability that people will engage. So just do the things that reduce opportunities for corruption. For example, you know that government is a place where a lot of decision making on a discretionary basis can lead to corruption. You reduce the power of discretion. Use systems, use openness as a principle. So open budget, open procurement systems, those kinds of things would reduce corruption. Take sectors that lend themselves to corruption, like natural resources sectors, just make them sectors that more is done in the private sector than is done in government. A lot of business related things where people get the opportunity to make decisions without any form of accountability in government. Reduce that, so you have prevented opportunities for corruption. You see what has happened in Africa's telecom sector. You deregulated it, moved it to a market-driven sector. And, who bothers to look for Ghana telephone company or whatever to give them any bribes or anything? The market is solving the problem of telecommunication need, less corruption in that sector. You can do the same thing in energy. You can do the same thing in petroleum sector. You can do the same thing in agriculture. As much as possible, let government stay with the things that it does best. Being a facilitator and enabler through the right kinds of policies would be better. Let the business sector take charge of risks and the premium that come out of risks, and then let them pay taxes to government. That's number 2. So it reduces the incidence of corruption. And then number 3, if you've reduced the opportunities for people to get corrupt, and yet some diehards are determined to be corrupt, then they must know that predictably the justice system is strong enough to be able to punish appropriately. And so when people know that the appropriate sanctions would follow their bad behavior, then they know that there's a consequence for bad behavior. So that consequence for bad behavior acts as a deterrent to bad behavior. But if people knew that the justice system is as corrupted as every other thing,
like, and that people think they can get away
precisely
with it.
And they know that if they got corrupt and they could bribe somebody with it, they can pay some judges off and all of that, they would get away with it, or nobody would even take them to court at all. Then people say that wait a minute, corruption is profitable. Actually, it's a low-cost environment for corruption. So they don't say to themselves, why am I keeping with my morality? If this morality won't take me anywhere in this society,
might as well. If you can't beat them, you join them. I've heard that before.
You know, so they say this morality is costly to me. So they just join the rest. And then society becomes a place where you've normalized bad behavior. Bad behavior must be properly, comprehensively punished in such predictable manner that people know the consequence of bad behavior. It reduces incidents of corruption. So